Welcome everybody to another edition of TEW 2020 as we're continuing your WCW 2004 series, now heading towards the home show for Superbrawl. But first, as a reminder, the WCW Year in Reverse for 2003 are still up in the link that you'll either see at the part of this video or in the Reddit post that I post for all these videos. Again, despite there being it says 15 responses there, but it's actually 14 because one person forgot a question and came back and sending that one. But despite that, basically almost all of the awards are in theory close, and some are still tied. Like, I'm not going to vote unless there's actually an actual tie when I basically do the Superbrawl video, which is when I will reveal the winners. But yeah, still plenty of time, to post that. And then, once that's done, we'll see who actually the people are actually enjoying as part of this series. But now it's time for the actual film show. I'll be back with that in just a second. So we start out as we're in front of a little over 11,000 people in Gainesville, Florida for the Go Home Show for Superbrawl. We start with a 6-man tag, which gets a 61 as about a pre-show match that Terrible Wrestling and non-existent crowd heat Cash, Eel Skipper, and Shannon Moore defeat Blitz, Laparca, and Tajiri in 12-15-23 when Skipper pinned Laparca with the overdrive. So again, back and forth match, just some match to get some people some in-ring time on Nitro. Tajiri gets 61, Parker gets a 43, Blitz gets a 50, Shannon Moore gets a 44, Eel Skipper gets a 49, and Cash gets a 67. And then we move on to the actual show. The opening, which gets a 97. Okay, again, I sometimes forget, like, a lot of this is just giving some people some in-ring time and they'll actually do well. But regardless, what happens here is, Shane Helms opens the show with the rest of his Helms legacy as, Gigantes, Cash, and O'Neal. He says, Superstar has arrived and your next world champion is right here in the ring. As I will start a new era in world championship wrestling where a man like me, the greatest United States champion of all time, will rise to become world champion, and there's nothing Eddy Guerrero can do about it, because Eddie, your time has passed. You came in here, you were given everything by WCW officials, why had to fight and claw, for the fact that he, had a whole backup squad to hold the U.S. title for basically the whole year. So just keep that belt polished, because I want to look at nice and shiny when I have it around my shoulder. Out comes Eddie, on Chavo. And, Eddie slides down to the ring with the world champion, on his waist. And he says, first of all, let me just remind you, I said, I was also U.S. champion before. Now, I'm not saying I think I was the greatest United champion of all time. But, so just remember that, Holmes. But, if you want to fight, you want to prove yourself, come on, let's do this right now. I'm ready to roll. Your family values are you're always ready to fight. But come get somebody. Shane fires back. No, I'm training. I have to be 100% ready for this world title match because it's my opportunity. See, I wasn't given things by Bischoff like you were. And he just sort of looks at him like, look, do you remember not what Bischoff did to me before? So I'm not signed to a fight tonight. But if you want to compete, you want to prove that you're truly a champion and a real machismo man like you think you are, then you can fight Mike Contes tonight. Ooh, pop. Eddie, Chavo, makes it for look, Eddie, 6 days. 6 days you gotta fight him. That guy's a monster. I know he's an asshole, but you don't want to do this. And he pushes him aside. And if you, I got this. Holmes, you want me to fight your big old monster? I'll prove to him that it's not the size of the man the fight, the size of the fight in the man. And then he throws the mic down as there's a stare down. As announcers put over, yes, we're going to have a big hour main event of Eddy Guerrero versus Gigantes, and also that tonight Sean O'Hare will take on Morningstar in our main event. And this gets a 97, like I said, which is real good. Just maybe Eddie might actually break his pop cap. Probably not, but we can hope. Then we go backstage to a triumvirate promo. We got Kidman, Lance Storm, and Michael Storm all back there. And Kidman points to the title belt and says, these championships mean something. Or not, actually, Lance does this because he's the more serious member. You can talk about a Hall injured air raid war, or how hard they fought because they just were in that assault on Man Premier to Starcade. But that's part of being champion. Fighting while you're broken, fighting while you're hurt, and still being good enough to do it. But AJ, Air Paris, they weren't good enough. Because what? Because men like us are. Kevin walks in. For far too long, we've been held back and been told to step aside. Jen London, you're trying to overstep your bounds. Scotty's Diner, Mike Awesome knows that you're a hack who's past his prime. It's our time now. And nobody's going to get in our way. 69 solid promo. As we move forward to our opening match, which is about the subpar wrestling and non-existent crowd heat. WCW Women's World Champions Cindy Cartier and Jordan Cole defeat Gail Kim and Lexi James in 7-17 when Cartier pins Lexi James with the CSLV. This gets a 63. Lexi gets a 53. Gail Kim gets a 63. Celine Cartier gets a 64. Jordan Cole gets a 52. Solid stuff. And again, like I sort of feel bad. I sort of dropped out Gail and Lexi after they've been, part of the women's division, but they'll get their feet back eventually. Everybody has to, when it's a small division like this, everybody has to be on job duty for a little while. And then, as Cartier is celebrating her win out of nowhere, Cut basically slides in, attacks her from behind, locks in a submission, and just keeps it on for just a minute, before Cole rushes back in, slides in, and basically, holds her arms out, says and holds her one finger up and be like, basically putting her, just 1 second, I can do that, and then your title is gone. 62, solid stuff. Then we go backstage where Vampiro, Morningstar, Messias are all in the graveyard. And, Morningstar is like, tonight, a message will be sent one way or the other. It must be sent because the message has told us what we must do. And it'll only be a preview of how we will destroy the future at Superbrawl. Are you ready for this? He is of course ready because he's a scary monster. And Vampiro there's a moment of hesitation. And he's like, yes, I know what the message means, and I know what I must do. This is what needs to happen for Deadpool to rule again. 71 solid stuff just because it's a short 3-minute promo. Then we have a quick TV title match. As in a decent match, Jonathan Toro defeats Eric Paris in 636 by pinfall. As Toro makes defense number 7 of his World TV title, this gets a 63. Toro and Paris actually have great chemistry, which is interesting. Toro gets a 64, Eric Paris gets a 74, but solid stuff. As Toro continues his, decent run as TV champion, Eric Paris, unfortunately, takes the loss. Hard fought win, though. And then Toro and Elizabeth celebrate afterwards to a 61. Then, in a basically 6-man match to put over the Triumvirate, now with a good wrestling beast from the crowd, Triumvirate of Lance Storm, Billy Kidman, and Mike Awesome defeat Conan, Dustin Rhodes, and Alex Wright in 9-14, when Awesome pinned Dustin Rhodes with the Awesome Splash. So what I imagine basically happening here is, because Conan, Rhodes, and Alex are sort of like Wright should be a little bit better, but Conan and Rhodes are sort of like our mid-card veteran droppers at this point, unfortunately. Basically, Kidman actually hits the Kid Crusher, but Awesome goes up top, hits the Awesome Splash on Rhodes for sort of the emphatic boom, it's over, and gets a pinfall win. This gets a 72. Kidman gets a friggin' 90. Awesome gets an 82. Storm gets a 79. Alex Wright gets a 72. Rhodes gets a 67. And Conan gets a 55. And then post-match, Sarah, of course, comes out to fight with Awesome. And then, Kidman and Storm are, of course, helping to make it a 3-on-1, but out comes Jed and Lund to do a quick dive on both men, and, this basically, puts over both big matches at Superbrawl, as this gets a 72. Then we have a quick ROD promo where basically puts over fact, Booker, I never wanted veering. I thought we were bros, man, but if you're going to let your wife make you convinced that everybody's against you, then I'll just have to knock some damn sense into you. Sorry, bro. 73. Again, solid promo because it's fairly short. And then in a wow. Again, if Eddy could actually break his pop cap, I would be happy pushing him as like the number one guy, like totally make him the star of the show, like even over Goldberg and got guys like O'Hare at least for the moment. But unfortunately, it's like these would be like 95s if Eddy could get up to 90s like he could be. Anyway. I hate running on about that every show, but it's really, really interesting. Anyways, what happens here is, power match start off Eddy, of course. This is a story child match, so I imagine like Eddy put it up basically better than I could imagine it, But, fights him, does the underdog thing. Basically, imagine like the Eddy Brock match with the worst Brock. And there you go. So, Eddy fights back. And it looks like he's actually on a roll as he goes up, because he can't really hit the big 3 Migos on Gigantes. So he has to fight, basically in his old school way. As far as the more balanced attack before this is throwback to a more old school Eddy as he goes flying, fly drop kick, big diving shoulder blocks, and eventually it looks like he's actually getting some momentum on Gigantes. and even like he's able to hit like because Conte's assembly is able to take a huge sort of like back suplex. Um, and it looks like Eddy is on his way to a big win, but of course Shane Helms comes down out of nowhere and just drills Eddy with a super kick. Automatic DQ, but of course that was, I guess, sort of the plan here. This gets an 88. Eddy gets a 90. Gigante gets a 63. They actually had pretty good chemistry, so that's interesting. And again, Shane goes for the vertebreaker, but Eddy is able to fight out of it, and he's actually able to look like he's going to hit hit the three amigos, but back in comes Gigantes, but Chavo comes in with a chair, and it's a big brawl to really set things up for Superbrawl. Well, Shane Helms will get his world title shot against Eddy Guerrero, as this gets an 82. And now it's time for a really big promo. As this gets a 99. Ric Flair and Jarrett Canyon come down, and they get a huge face pop because of course Ric Flair were in the South, and they just turn face. And Canyon, Canyon's character has basically his character as world champion was the arrogant bastard heel, but he's basically been conspiracy I'm sure he was getting face pops even before the official face turn here. But regardless, they come down, and this is basically like Flair's promos. Canyon's in the background, be Canyon, but this is basically Flair's background. He says, Jeff, Shane, to be honest last week about how terrible it was to have the honor of being part of the greatest group in history of professional wrestling. A group synonymous with greatness, success, women, money, and power. A group whose name will be remembered when other spooky folks, young punks, and weirdos in the back will be long forgotten. Well then, it's time for the Nature Boy to say what he's been feeling for a long, long time. You see, I had to be talked into this. But Jarrett, you didn't talk me into this. This man did, as Winter came. He was one who convinced me that sportsmen needed a return, but not in the watered way down in the past. No disrespect to Christine or Steve, but as the elite force it was that took no prisoners and ran over World Championship wrestling instead of trying to save it. This man convinced me that you two were the ones to do it. Now, things were good. I don't deny that at all. World champion, tag champions, big man events is top of the card. I was having fun. It was the good old days. Now you have to wrestle all over defending the world title. But you arrogant SOBs are torturing about two things: protecting the world title and having each other's back no matter what. So, you want me to be honest? Jeff, Jarrett, you're the never was son of a skinflint promoter who stole money from the boys by paying them almost nothing. Here's the truth. And remember this, King. It sort of points up at Lawler, who's at the nationals. I didn't avoid Memphis because I was afraid of the King. I avoided Memphis because your daddy paid like shit without being blinked, even the world champion. Now, I may have cheated. I have had a lot of people at my back, Jarrett. But every single one of the world titles, I won in that ring. Not by becoming some asshole Yankee's best friend who came down from the other company. Now, back over to you, Shay. Old Canyon here really had to convince me, because I've heard what you said about Ric Flair. Talking about how I was an old man 10 years ago. But, he told me you'd mature. You got to know that. You've been talked into saying a lot of those things by a mutual acquaintance of ours. But Shane, you forgot. You've never been at the actual franchise of any damn thing. You were the petty king of a bunch of malcontents wrestling, and for mutants would have cheered a man bleeding to death because it was hardcore. Woo! You see, this is what elite actually looks like. Jarrett Douglas, you want a war, you got one. But what you forgot is Diamonds Work Forever, and so is Ric Flair. And the king steps in and says, nobody's better than this. Nobody. Then we're done. This gets a 99, and yeah, honestly, that's some of the best stuff I think I've done, which is nice. Because I think it deserves it. And again, I think it's kind of weird that this is probably been actually our hardest program in the world, not the world title view, but hey, sometimes those things happen. Then we have a quick backstage segment where basically Knoble tries to talk to Kaz, basically, look, it's good old days. We're the Young Dragons, except, we don't have to wear stupid face masks. You get to be your badass self. I get to meet me, Redneck Rebel. I got some backup. And Kaz just sort of stares at him. Because Kaz is a heel, but he's still, a silent badass heel. Sort of a punk asshole heel. This gets a 72. Good stuff. Then in a bout of good heat and decent wrestling, RVD defeats Bart Jindrak in 70-48 by pinfall to 5-star product clash. A straightforward, semi-squash. Jindrak gets a little bit of offense in, but, RVD is RVD and heading to a big match at Superbrawl, and Jindrak is not, so there we go. RVD gets 79, Jindrak gets 55, mainly because it didn't click, which is unfortunate. And then, Booker comes out, and he actually goes after RVD, but Booker, RVD avoids Booker's attack and is actually able to hit him, because Booker has a chair, and because able to hit the Van Damener on Booker and lay him out right before Super Brawl, as this gets to 76. And Charmel looks worried as she comes down with her man. Then we have another Keenan Sharp run, which gets a 68. Basically, there's, again, the, pre-tape of various, scandals, news, etc. He says, corruption, drugs, women, they're all vices. I live clean without those problems because I know what it means to be an elite athlete. Yes, I've got these tattoos, but they don't mean I'm some scumbag who doesn't have the focus to be great. Because I have to be an example to those who have fallen dishes, because they need a new path to walk behind me, Keenan Sharp. 68s, good stuff. Then in our big tag team title, not tag team title, our big high flying tag team superstar main event about that good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd, Jamie Knoble and Kaz beat Jushin Liger and Rey Mysterio Jr. in 1503 when Kaz pinned Rey Mysterio Jr. with a fast roll. This gets a friggin' 88 as these guys just all go all out. Just, total greatness. This is, Liger in really mid-air Liger, so lots of actual power moves, suplexes, brainbuster, shotes, Rey Mysterio Jr. flying all around, Kaz looking like a badass with hard strikes and trying to lock in submissions, Knoble being a shitty heel, shit heel and sneaking in, and things break down, and also AJ Styles comes on ringside to watch the match. In the end, things break down, but Kaz is able to basically, kick Rey into the corner, a quick little roll up and hold the tights, of course, and get the 1-2-3 over the US champion 6 days before Superbrawl. So Kaz gets a 76, Knoble gets a 78, Rey gets an 87, Liger gets a 70, and yeah, good stuff. Yeah, that's actually, that's impressive, 88. And then post-match, Knoble and AJ basically argue, well, Liger looks on from the ring with his Cruiserweight title, as this gets a 71. And then, it's time for a main event, but it doesn't actually happen. So, what happens here is, O'Hara's coming down to the ring when Morningstar, Vamp, and, Morningstar, Vamp, and Macias all, attack him. It's just a brutal attack right in ring amp for a minute or two when Chuck Palumbo comes down, with Stacy to fight back, but it's 3-on-2, and it looks like, wait, they're grabbing Stacy. That's how they're going to Stacy, and then Macias comes back with a casket. Oh geez, this isn't good. So of course Stacy's trying to fight back, but it's two huge men, two huge big guys, and she's Stacy. Palumbo's out, but just as it looks like, they're going to get her in the casket, probably with some moves that show off her legs, because this is still 2004, even during a heavy segment like this. O'Hare, after being beaten down, gets up and rushes and just spears the hell out of Morningstar. Knocks him down not long enough. So, that causes Vampiro to, basically, not drop Stacy in theory, but hopefully he's good enough to, just let him, just sort of, put her down. And then O'Hare comes flying with a big flying clothesline on Macias. That allows Palumbo to get back and actually make the comeback on Macias for a little bit before WCW officials have finally come down and break things apart as just put over these two huge matches for Super Bowl. So this gets an 87. So not quite as good as I hoped, but what can you do? The show itself gets a 91. So yeah, that was actually a really good go home show. I was really thankful about that. But let's see if there's any interesting mail. See what Raw did, and then we'll go from there. I love processing time that it gets when it's... There we go. Okay. Oh boy. Steiner. Yes, I know you're unhappy, Scott, but guess what? I don't care. Johnny Ace thinks Johnny, she's a woman. Anyway, then we got Raw. So Raw had Lynn defeating Kid Cash, Kane's winning by squash, Randy Orton defeated Raven, Steve Austin defeating Matt Classic, Benoit defeating DDB in '89, Steven Richards, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Jericho. I mean, that's just three people who look the same. Defeating Kevin Nash, Brock Lesnar, Triple H in '99. Okay, and then Team Angle, Kurt Angle, and Billy Gunn defeated Big Show, Undertaker, and another. But they still only got an 88, where we got a 91. So that's not bad at all. And yeah, I just and just because it's interesting for folks. Let's see here. Any other news? No. Okay. As a quick note, I just wanted to show because people have been interested in seeing this. So, this was the last match of our developmental fed. Last week rather. We had Tracy Brooks defeating Mischief, Millie Hosaka and Beth Phoenix, who's down here for developmental now, defeating Kissing Rogers and Madison Sinclair. We had cheerleader Melissa and Pink Girls, who's Becky Bayless and Eddie Hart, defeating Allison Danger, Ronnie Jonah and Vanessa Harding, or Allison Danger and Counterpunch. Kim Nielsen, who's Desire from TNA, defeating Body Max in the cage match, and Wasim Busick defeating Lacey. So fun stuff. And then in our other developmental fed, they have a weekly house show, which is a lot of interesting stuff. But in the TV show, we had Shane Ballard and Keith Walker defeating Simply Fabulous, which is Tanko and Ken Anderson, who are actually two of our folks. Rothschild defeating Kay Graves, who of course is one of the regens. And yeah, fun stuff. Ray Gordy defeated Claudio in 63, so he'll probably be pushed well. So fun stuff. And then we also had our taping for Saturday night. So let's just go over that real quick before we go over the Superbrawl card. So first we had Miss Jones in her office. We had Roman Williams Jr. winning squash over Norman and Lash. We had Jordan Cole defeating Ric Flair in 43. We had Keenan Sharp replay of the Keenan Sharp promo. We had Yang defeated and coming up from developmental, Johnny Devine in 51. And then in the main event, we had Mark Jindrak defeated Conan in 59. So fun stuff. Then in the other taping, we had Miss Jones talking to AEW, with Blizzard and Yang winning squash over Killswitch and Rothschild, bringing up from developmental. Mainly because it's in Southeast, so the guys are actually over. The Cat looked to find a partner against AMW. Angel Fox defeating Ronnie Jonah in 46. Tajiri defeated Johnny Devine in 48. And then Ernest Miller brings out Chavo as his partner, and they actually managed to defeat America's Most Wanted, mainly because Hart Lacey came out and distracted them, did it at 66. So fun stuff on the other show. But yeah, that's basically it. If we look over our storyline real quick, the Booker RVD is at a 90. Cruiserweight Fun is at an 81. The Deadpool feud is at an 85. Horseman feud's at an 83. Jet, the tag feud, is at a 76. Kaz Ray is at an 84. Steiner Awesome's at a 77. Tag Wars is at a 68. Guerrero Helms is at an 85. Vampiro Hardy, which is at an 82. And Selena Nikita is at a 61. So fun stuff. And again, go over the card for the pay-per-view for Superbrawl. Main event, Eddy Guerrero versus Shane Helms for the WCW World title. Rey Mysterio Jr. will defend the US title versus Kaz. The Cruiserweight title will be up in a three-way as Jason Liger defends against AJ Styles and Jamie Knoble. Storm Kim will defend the tag titles against Jet in London. In a huge tag match, the Horsemen explode as Ric Flair and Kane take on Jeff Jarrett and Douglas. Scott Steiner takes on Mike Awesome. Sean Hare faces Challenge of Macias. Chuck Colombo takes on Morningstar of Deadpool. Scene Cartier defeats the Women's World title against Nikita Colt. And in a big grudge match, Booker T takes on RVD. So yeah, I think, that's a really solid card for a pay-per-view. And I think, it'll be interesting to see where it goes, how good it goes. And, honestly, again, this is so annoying. This pop cap is so annoying because it's Eddy. But anyway, I didn't want to complain too much about that. But, that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like. Comment below on what you're enjoying and not enjoying, and subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this series, my MLW 2005 series, my WWE 2013 series, where I've done a random number generator to give me some goals, and my WCW 1994 series, now exiting Superbrawl. But that's for now, so talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.